Hi, and welcome to another edition of Newsmakers Journal of the Vaccine Year. I'm Jerry Roberts. It is Friday, April 9th, and we are joined by our all-star panel of top local journalists, Jade Martinez-Pogue from Newshawk, Josh Molina, her colleague, and Nick Welsh, top columnist of the year and executive editor of the Santa Barbara News Press. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Wow,
Hi,
Jerry.
Jade.
You just called Nick the executive editor of a different publication.
What did I say? Did I meant to say?
Columnist
Oh, well.
We were watching
year.
that.
Top columnist of the year.
Yeah.
Freudian.
Here we're off to a rough start already. All right, Jade, give us that's the latest from the world of vaccines and variants in the COVID situation.
So we're about 18.5% fully vaccinated in Santa Barbara County. Around 22% of all South County residents are fully vaccinated, and around 14% of North County residents are fully vaccinated. They're opening more slots for the mass vaccination clinic at the Hilton next week. So there'll be more appointments available. As far as variants, I think last time we talked, there were only 42% of the samples came back as a variant, and now it's 54%.
Really?
Of variants of concern. And just of the ones from March, a third of those are the UK variant, and then about 42% is the West Coast, which still pretty concerning.
And remind me, do we know if the vaccine is effective against either or both of those?
Public health officials have said that it's still effective. If they start to mutate more or circulate more, they have said that the vaccine, you can easily make boosters for the vaccine to accommodate that. But.
All right. So, and everybody is going to have a vaccine who wants one by when approximately now, do we know?
I'm not sure on that one, to be honest.
Yeah, okay, all right. And then you had, you were mentioning that there was this dust up between supervisors Hart and Williams over who's getting them and who's not getting them. What's that all about?
Yeah, so at the Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday, Bob Nelson originally just brought up the fact that there's a growing gap between North County and South County residents that are fully vaccinated, but he kind of did it as a call out to public health that they need to step up and take a little more action, and that he didn't blame South County residents. He mentioned South County residents going to North County and kind of taking their appointments. But he said he didn't blame the residents. And then Doss stepped in and he said, I will blame the residents. People are acting in their own self-interest. And then he kind of turned it into this larger moral high ground issue. He brought in race, all of this. He was talking about how everyone wants to battle racism, but then when it comes to vaccines, they're going to act selfish and think of themselves first. And that's when Hart jumped in and just made the point that everyone getting vaccinated anywhere in the county, anywhere they can, is going to be better for the county as a whole to stop the spread of the virus. And they were kind of interrupting each other for a bit. The Bob Nelson had to step in and be like, hey, settle down. So it was interesting.
So yeah, Doss getting on his high horse and attacking other people for self-interest is, yeah, that's uncharacteristic of him. Remind me, Josh, Doss is Latino, is he not? Did he not once win a big prize for that or something? I think you reported on that.
Jerry, I thank you for talking to me before minute 23 in the show. Sorry to interrupt you earlier, but I'm going to allow you to have full control of all Doss criticisms in this show. So
No,
it's all
I just, I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, is there, I mean, Nick, here, you be the arbiter on this. Who's right about this, Hart or Williams?
Well, it was interesting that Josh Williams' good friend Lee Heller testified. She's a very close friend and political supporter, and she said, "Thanks a lot for making me feel guilty because I drove up to North County. A lot of people have driven up to North County. It was, in fact, I was talking to Gregg Hart earlier in the week, and he said that when the public health tents were out in Lompoc, a very large number, and I don't know what that number is, but a significant number of the appointments were made by people in the South. And it really, when you look at the numbers of the appointments, it makes you wonder to what extent that skews the North County appointments that we've had. I mean, there's definitely a reason to be concerned. I mean, North County clearly has way more cases and way more hospitalizations than deaths. And yet, people down here in the South, we're much quicker on the trigger when it comes to getting ourselves vaccinated. Part of the problem, though, is like I went up to North County, for example. I got my shots up at a CVS pharmacy because I played Russian roulette down here. You couldn't get an appointment. So I went up to beautiful downtown San Maria 2 times. But it wasn't the public health.
So what I hear you saying, Nick, is Gregg is correct on this in Dawson.
No, you didn't hear me say
Thank you
either one.
for clarifying.
Okay.
Actually,
but
when I
here's
heard-
the thing. Here's the thing. I'll shut up. But the most 39% of Republicans are refusing to get vaccinated or unlikely, which in Santa Barbara County translates to 24,000 people. And so Von De Reynoso decided to take the bull by the horns, and she was going to be on Andy Caldwell's show this week to try to reach out to the recalcitrant Republicans and say, please, baby, baby, please. But unfortunately, she had to be there talking about racism and whether racism was a public health crisis at that time, so she couldn't reach out to the North County Republicans that listened to Andy.
I see. Jade, is there any data on people who are not getting the vaccine or refusing? I mean, could that be a factor also in why there would be fewer vaccines in North County, that people are not taking advantage of them?
Yeah, I don't have any data specifically, but anecdotally, at least from what Bob Nelson has said, it's a more blue collar community in the North. And he said that, his constituents have different priorities, I think is how he put it. I think he was just hinting at the times that the vaccine clinics are open don't really work. For some people up north, they have to be at work. They can't go to get the vaccine. I think access is a big issue up there, but.
All right. Josh, you have.
Jerry, for the record, I got my vaccine at Cottage. I did not have to go to North County and take somebody else's spot. And, under the guise of, there's plenty of openings. And I don't care where they get their shots, as long as they can stay off my social media feed with their selfies saying, look, I just got my vaccination shot.
Yeah, I'm a little.
Because that is a tired thing. I realize that it's important to encourage others by showing an example that you've gotten it, but it really comes across as a privilege thing to me. Like, look, I'm one of the ones who was able to get it when not everybody can get it. And I don't know. That's my only concern. I'm presumably Nick did not take a selfie and post it on Facebook.
No, Nick rarely.
I don't know how.
Nick has just figured out how to text recently, so that's no, I hate those selfies too, but it's more like, it's just, I think people think they're encouraging others to do it, but it's just boring. I don't care. It's just like, leave it alone. I don't know.
I see a lot of people post those too, and then their next, post will be them at a crowded restaurant or a crowded bar. So they're kind of using it as like an excuse, like, look, I'm safe. I can go out and do this.
Yeah, good point. All right, Josh, so you had a scoop about the Four Seasons Resort, which is been closed and apparently is going to continue to be closed. What's the story there?
You got a live audience over there, Jerry? What, you dealing with stuff? What's going on?
Ooh, it's Felix is here.
Oh, wow.
Hi.
We got a special guest, parents. I'm not going to follow that. Okay.
Yeah.
No. So the Biltmore has been closed since the pandemic, the Four Seasons Biltmore, and a lot of the employees are feeling as though they've been shut out, lack of communication. They were originally told back in November that the hotel would open up in May 1st, and they didn't hear anything. And then mid-March, there was a conference call saying, "Hey, we're going to give you an update," and said, "Oh, we're not opening. We're closed indefinitely, and we're canceling all events through until the end of 2022, at least." And so, there might be some people out there like, "Oh, hotel, Four Seasons, like big deal. I'm so sorry, people can't
That's a
stay
lot
there."
of, that's a lot of jobs.
Yeah, but the story is really not about like people not being able to stay at the Four Seasons. The story is about the workers and
Yeah.
the people who make the Four Seasons go. And we're talking about, yeah, there's some people who make a lot of money there, but there's a lot of people who make very, the minimum wage or a little bit more, who are the support staff of that facility. And, some of them get unemployment, some of them don't. Their benefits have been gone since basically, I think they gave them 2 months benefits. So since last May, and they're struggling. They're losing their, they can't pay their rents. They can't pay their mortgages. They are basically having to take jobs. I talked to some workers, some employees there, and they talked about people having to work at Uber, delivering groceries, basically trying to get just any kind of cash that they can. And obviously, the pandemic's been very difficult for a lot of people. But this is a clear example of the pandemic hurting sort of the poorest of the poor, the people who support hotel staff, who support the hotel, and they feel disrespected. I mean, some of these people have been working, on crew or groundskeeping or catering or restaurants or events, for more than a decade or decades, and so there's a serious loss. And one of the people I talked about how you're tied to your job as your identity. Like if you have a job and you get a regular paycheck, you feel valuable. And if you don't have a job, you don't feel valuable. You feel like there's something wrong, even if it's not your fault. The other thing is they're talking to an attorney about filing a lawsuit, not a class action. It's called a group lawsuit. And they're basically saying, hey, we are owed severance pay because their employment agreement said you will get a certain amount of severance pay based on the amount of years you've worked there if the hotel closes at no fault of your own. So people feel Ty Warner has furloughed, not laid off people because trying to avoid that severance pay. So it's very tangled, complicated, but there's a lot of real people who do a lot of daily work, real jobs, who are getting impacted the most here.
Well,
Why did it happen? What is going on there?
I mean, Ty Warner, meanwhile, announces that he's reopening the Montecito Club exclusively, but he can't be reached for, to even say anything about this. What's going on?
Yeah, the same day that my story came out, they issued a press release saying we're going to be opening up the Montecito Club, formerly the Montecito Country Club. I think it's April 13th or something, with new outdoor accommodations. And so, maybe that's like an attempt to sort of spin things a bit. But, they've been closed since the pandemic. The Biltmore has been closed since the pandemic. That's why they closed. But all the other hotels are open. There's no more I mean, there's obviously the social distancing and that sort of thing, but hotels can be open. So the idea that they're not open really it's a mystery, and Montecito people are wondering, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories. One of them,
Casino is closed too, right?
Coral Casino is closed as well. I don't know if there's some talk of like separating those two, or the members trying to, separate the Coral Casino. But it's a story that really resonates with a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. This is a 5-star hotel. It's iconic. And of course, all the competitors, Bacara, Rosewood, Miramar, sure, they love the fact that hotel is closed.
And I believe that it's located in Supervisorial District 1. And so you would think that perhaps the political leadership might provide some, but we have Goss Williams saying, we hope they will reconsider and open. Ooh, I guess Ty Warner won't. He's not going to mess with that, huh? All right.
Well, you know, Jerry, Doss is obviously more concerned about what's happening to the people in North County, you
Yeah,
know, than.
Obviously, than his constituents. Exactly.
And by the way, last thing, Jerry,
Yeah.
we will all be vaccinated long time before your Giants ever win the World Series
Oh,
again.
let's not go there. We're only a game and a half out in the first week of the season.
Please, it's April.
Hey, Nick, so there was, they finally made some arrests in that double homicide on the east side, the teenagers, Angel Castillo and Omar Montiel Hernandez. Anything more on that? They arrested what, 3 alleged perps?
They arrested 3 people on about 8:30. What was it? 2 days ago. And 8:30 in the morning. It was a big, bear chat raid. Sheriffs, cops, they all participated. 2 of them lived in Carpinteria. 1 of them lives in Summerlin. 2 were in their mid-20s. 1 was a teenager. The cops are alleging that, it was in furtherance of a street gang. So that's all we know at this point. I don't know the criminal histories of the 3 guys who were arrested.
Was it more in more than one location, or was it just one location? I mean, it looked like
It was 2 separate locations.
Oh, okay.
One in Summerlin and then another in Carpinteria. But it was a really big deal. The shooting took place on January 3rd. 4 people were shot, 2 fatally. They were 17 and 18 years old. And it really shook the neighborhood. I mean, where people are used to having certain types of fights, but to have a shooting in Santa Barbara where 4 people are hit and 2 kids killed, it really shook up the neighborhood, and there was a lot of frustration. How come it's taking so long? Don't you care? You don't care so much because these are Latinos. You don't care so much because they're all supposedly gang members. One of the moms of the victim said, "My son was not a gang member. This isn't just another gang shooting," and she was very upset. And the cops were just saying, "Hey, patience. We're working on it. We're working on it. We don't want to have any loose ends that are going to allow people to get away." We'll see what happens.
Is there any indication that it's connected to that other fatal shooting on the east side?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. And then your column this week, the Angry Poodle, you go into a lot of what's going on the mental health front. And it's kind of a good news, bad news kind of thing, but mostly bad news. A lot of people are leaving suddenly. What's that all about?
Well, okay, so the big picture here that's what I was setting the stage for was this Monday, the County Board of Supervisors are going to be having their first look at the budget. And for the first time ever, they're setting aside a special look at how do we divert people from the criminal justice system? How do we keep people out of the county jail? And this obviously is in response to George Floyd and healing justice and Black Lives Matter. And the whole issue of, defunding or reimagining the police. And the one program that Santa Barbara County has had, it actually has been doing this for some time, it's called the co-response program, which is where you team a cop with a psychiatric social worker and they go out to where, and they respond to calls for service. Something like, I don't know, the 2,500, 3,000 calls for service for the sheriff's department are from mental health crisis calls. And the co-response units have really responded to about half of them. And these are frequently potentially quite explosive encounters. People in the throes of a mental health crisis do not respond well to cops who are not trained in this sort of situation. So it's been a huge success. up to this point. And at this point, this year for 2020, only less than 20 people were arrested in these calls for services. Normally the number would be much higher without the show response. So it looks good, but the woman who was assigned to be psychiatric social worker with the City of Santa Barbara Police Department, Officer Craig Burley, to go out and do this, she left recently. Reportedly, she doesn't have a job. She just said that's enough. And the head of the program, his name is Jeff Shannon. He was a former Berkeley police officer for about 14, 15 years, and he took over here. And, this was his baby, crisis response. He is leaving as well. He doesn't have a job. And his immediate boss is a woman named Pam Fisher, and she is retiring. And she was retiring because she's going to
So is it
time with her
burnout?
grandkids.
Is it burnout? Is it burnout? Is that why they're leaving? Are they burned out?
You know what? I've heard all kinds of different things, but nothing that I feel confident, blabbing about right now. But
Oh,
clearly, this has been a really intense year for
yeah.
crisis management. If the Cottage Hospital reported between March and October of 2020, they had 58% increase in the number of people showing up who were deemed 5150, which is
5150s, yeah.
they pose a threat to themselves or others, or a potential threat. So that's a high increase. And they're supposed to hand these people off to behavioral wellness, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I imagine it's been pretty hellacious.
Yeah. All right. Well, you do the Lord's work on this issue, I have to say. You follow this so closely and in such depth, and it's great that somebody is. So we'll see what happens at the board. Speaking of doing the Lord's work, Josh, you interviewed Eric Friedman on your podcast this week after he was not endorsed, or at least temporarily not endorsed, by the Democratic Party for the sin of endorsing his own mother. What did he have to say about it? Is he going to go back and put himself in humiliate himself before these people again, or what?
Jerry, you forgot to refer to it as the #1 podcast on the South Coast. We talked
Number
about
one podcast about Santa Barbara.
Eric gave me an exclusive interview, Jerry, and he talked about basically being asked how could he support his mother, even though his mother was supported by conservatives and she has a reputation for being a conservative, even though she says she's not a conservative. And so he was defending his mother. And so basically he took a long time to answer that question at the Democratic Party interviews. So he kind of wanted to explain his process. And he said he wants to do the interview again. He wants to go back. He wants the Democrats to endorse them. He says he's a card-carrying Democrat. He talked about all the great things his mother has done, and he wants to talk about his policies, not really who he's supporting. At the end of the day, he said, I think his exact quote was, "She's my mom. I love her. She raised me." So, it's kind of hard to hold somebody accountable for the actions of their,
You gotta tell him
political support anyway.
He should tell him to stuff it. Seriously. I mean, that's just like it was bad enough when they were just Stalinists. Now they're Stalinists and woke, and it's really totally.
Well, Jerry, would you do that political calculation? Like every council member, 7 of them endorsed by the Democratic Party, Gregg Hart, Joan Hartman, Doss Williams, endorsed by the Democratic Party. Do you really want to, if you're a Democrat, do you really want to be at odds with the Democrats?
I don't think Eric's got too much to worry about in that district. I mean, if he's got anything to worry about, it's somebody running to his right. Nobody's going to get to his left in that district. No, I just think it's ridiculous. I think the whole thing is ridiculous, and I think it really speaks to what that whole process has become. And you know, they're just looking for this down the line allegiance to everything, and it's not good for our politics. It's not good for these nonpartisan offices, whether it's the city council or the board of supervisors or the school board. So obviously, I'm not running for office.
You don't need him, Jerry.
No,
You went hands down.
Nick's gonna need it though when he runs. All right, so we got the film festival meanwhile going on. And Jade, you did a piece on, I guess he was what, the outstanding performer of the year, Sacha Baron Cohen. And it was really interesting because, you know, you just think he's always in these costumes as Borat or Ali G or somebody, that he's just kind of a goofball. But in talking, as in your piece, as recounted in your piece, he was really very serious about the politics of the whole thing. What did he have to say?
Yeah, so he didn't have any intentions of, you know, reviving the Borat character. It was so popular. How could he even, you know, go out and be Borat without people recognizing him? And then he said it was when the Trump administration signed the Muslim ban that he couldn't handle it. He couldn't be a bystander. And so he wanted to. The movie came out October 22nd, so like a week and a half before the election, maybe 2 weeks. And that was on purpose. And he, like, through the humor in the movie, he wanted to show that, you know, all the radical conspiracy theories and the lies that Trump spread and the anti-Asian hate and the almost encouragement of white nationalism. And so
Not to mention Rudy Giuliani in the hotel room, which of course became the most memorable scene or the most viral scene anyway in the whole thing. And then he also was a trial of the Chicago 7 came out the same week, and he Abby Hoffman, Nick's old hero. I know Abby Hoffman was someone that we all of a certain age looked up to. But what do you say about that? Did those two roles sort of inform each other? Or?
Yeah, so he said that actually the directors and the cast of the Chicago 7 didn't know that he was working on Borat at the same time and didn't know that it was going to be coming out within the same week. But he said that he really liked having these projects so close together because Abby Hoffman, you know, was an activist. He stood up, he protested, and that's kind of what he was trying to encourage through Borat also.
Yeah, it was a really good piece. Yeah. And then Nick, your piece this week on the woman who heads the NAACP, I'm forgetting her name.
The one that I included.
Yeah, that was interesting because it went to that issue of trying to convince vaccine hesitant people to get the vaccine. She's out there doing that. So don't miss that either. Go check out our next piece. And Josh, who you got on a podcast this week?
Taking a break, Jerry. Taking a break.
How about Eric's mom? Why don't you have Eric's mom come on and see what she's got?
I'm working on business development this week, Jerry, and social media development. I thought you were going to get the exclusive with Eric's mom.
I'm working on. My people are talking to her people. We're getting close. All right, everybody's got their vaccines. You got them both, Nick.
Yeah, I'm both.
Jade, you got the J&J, so you're done. Josh, when are you getting your second?
I got one more on Saturday. I missed the email that came in that said I was supposed to get it last week, and I had to scramble. I didn't have to go to North County though. I found one at Cottage, so lucky me.
All right.
You are lucky. Oh, let me tell you, the restaurant I went to when I went up to San Maria the first time and wrote how bad it was, without naming it, the day I went up to San Maria for my second shot, it burned down.
You're an instigator.
What is this? Oh, man.
Insider.
We'll have to get
I
back.
did not even try to go there, but it is an interesting coincidence.
All right, we'll
Cross Nick
connect the
Welsh.
dots. We'll connect the dots on that one next time. Thank you.
Wait, Jerry, yes, okay.
What? Go ahead.
Nothing, nothing,
Quick.
nothing.
We'll see you next time on Newsmakers.
right.
Thanks, Jade. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Nick.
All right, see
Everybody
you.
for watching. Bye.